Hello and welcome to Vicenza Live, AFN Vicenza's live call-in program. I'm Specialist Dave McLean. My guest today is Colonel Dennis Jennings, the Dental Clinic Commander. Welcome, Colonel.
Glad to be here this evening.
Okay. We're going to be talking with Colonel Jennings for the next half hour about dental clinic operations and about the new dental care reengineering initiative, which has fairly dramatically changed the structure of dental care here in Vicenza. I mentioned this is a live call-in program, so if you have a question for Colonel Jennings, please feel free to call us from off-post. The number would be 51-8227, and from on-post, 634-8227. So this is your first time on Vicenza Live, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'd like to start with something pretty basic, something we can build on. If you could just kind of introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about what your job entails.
Okay. I'm the commander of the Dental Clinic Command. I took command in July of '96 and will be in command until July of '99. My responsibilities are split between both clinical and administrative. I practice about 60% of the time in the clinic as in my specialty, which is prosthodontics. Prosthodontics is doing the more difficult restorative cases, such as crowns, bridges, implants, complete dentures, removable partial dentures. The 40% of the time that I'm not in the clinic, I do the administrative responsibilities that are part of my job. My higher headquarters is in Landstuhl, Germany, and the commander of the European Regional Command, Colonel Fretwell, is my boss. The European Regional Command is one of 5 dental commands within the United States Army Dental Command worldwide that controls all the assets in the United States Army dental care system.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That kind of puts things into the big picture for us a little bit. Do you have any responsibilities beyond Vicenza?
Yes, I do. We have one clinic, a small clinic at Livorno, Camp Darby. We have one practitioner and 5 enlisted or 5 auxiliary personnel in Livorno.
Okay. Do you get down there much?
I try to get down there at least on a quarterly basis to see how they're doing. We have a really good practitioner down there, and he takes care of things in an outstanding manner.
Okay, very good. I'm going to let you just tell us about this DCRI now, this Dental Care Reengineering Initiative, because it, as I said at the top of the show, really has fairly dramatically altered the way dental care is being conducted here in Vicenza. So could you give us a brief thumbnail sketch about what that's about?
We've been trying to put the word out through different mechanisms. We had a flyer, a survey that went out. We had some other things that we've tried to do through the community to let people know about DCRI. But what DCRI is a mechanism to try to move the Army dental care system to more of a civilian, customer-focused dental care operation. When I talk about moving it towards a civilian practice, what I'm talking about is individuals who come into our dental clinic will be assigned to a practitioner, and that practitioner will be their primary care provider throughout the time that they come in through the dental clinic.
Okay, I'm going to want to explore that with you a little bit more, sir, but we have a phone call already, so okay. Let's go to the phones. Hello, you're on Vicenza Live. Your question, please.
I know you haven't touched on this yet, but both of my children have dental abnormalities, and we're told that they'd have to go to Landstuhl to get their dental care and surgery. How long does it take to actually get an answer and a date? I've been waiting a month now.
Okay, thank you for your call. Sir?
Our pediatric dentist is the one who handles the care for coordinating the care through for your children. And I'd have to get back with Dr. Clark and see what the status of that is. But what he has to do is set up an appointment with the whoever is going to be taking care of your children up in Landstuhl, and then arrange for the medevac to take your children and you up to Landstuhl to have that taken care of.
So how long would that process normally take? When an abnormality has been identified and they've been told we need to pay attention to this up in Germany, how long would that process take normally?
It depends on what the practitioner up in Germany, how far out he is booked. If he's booked a long ways out, it may take a month. But if you'll give me a call tomorrow at the clinic, I can for sure find out the exact details of your situation and follow up on that. Thank you for calling.
Okay, very good. Yes, and once again, let me give the phone numbers. If you have a question, the phone number from off-post is 51-8227, and from on-post, 634-8227. We're talking with Colonel Dennis Jennings, the Dental Clinic Commander, and please feel free to call at any point in the program with your questions. Okay, sir, we had just begun touching on the Dental Care Reengineering Initiative. And you said basically what happens is we have another phone call. That's what happens. I don't want to finish that question and then get into something else.
Okay.
Let's take this call now, and we will get back to that.
Okay.
Hello, you're on Vicenza Live. Your question, please.
Yes, I have a question on expediting appointments. Excuse me, by the way, sir, I think that the dental clinics does a very good job. I have fantastic service there, and I'd like to say thanks to Dr. Foster. He did a really good job on a difficult situation with a dental problem that I had. But
thank you very much.
as for expediting future appointments, I still have to, in fact, come see you. And I was curious as if there was going to be a better way, or if it could be expedited instead of having to wait 2 or 3 months to get a consultation in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your call. Okay, so that brings up a good point. I want to call the clinic. I want to make an appointment. It's fairly routine. I'm not a Cat 4 or Cat 3. How long does it normally take?
Normally, if you're coming in for an examination, we'll get you in within a week. What he was talking about was specialty care,
Okay.
and he was trying to get referred to me to take care of his specialty in prosthodontics.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm only booked out about a month, so if he was waiting 2 or 3 months, then he probably needs to call back and get in contact with my assistant, and we'll get him worked in. I'm not booked out 2 or 3 months. I'm only booked out about a month. Problem with expediting my care is that my time is limited in the clinic, so I only have a certain number of available appointments, and that time is taken up usually about a month in advance.
Because you're dealing with your specialty, you are the dental clinic commander with all that entails.
Right.
And that involves, of course, supervision, paperwork, and TDY trips. So
Right.
that, I'm sure, limits the availability that you have. Prosthodontics came up again, and I have to confess, I had not heard of that one before. I've heard of orthodontics and a couple other donics, but that one was new on me. I was wondering if you could just tell me what that entails.
We handle the more difficult restorative cases. A lot of times people need extensive amount of dental work. With that extensive amount of dental work, I have additional training to handle that. I deal with the occlusion problems. I deal with more extensive crown and bridge. If somebody needs a lot of crown and bridge in their mouth, if they're missing teeth, I replace teeth with bridges, sometimes with implants. If a lot of their teeth are missing, then I replace them with complete dentures or removable partial dentures. So there's a lot of things that I do as a prosthodontist. And even one part of prosthodontics is called maxillofacial prosthodontics, and that's when a person has had some kind of oral cancer, maybe is missing an eye, part of their palate is gone. A maxillofacial prosthodontist will restore those kind of situations.
What type of problem do you see most often in prosthodontics?
Most of it is just the routine type things. People missing 1 or 2 teeth that maybe is an aesthetic concern, a functional problem, can't chew things effectively, and those are the kind of things that are routine things. The more difficult cases are the ones that people have over years of dental breakdown, have to have a lot of dental work done.
Okay, now you said routine. When we're talking about those types of problems, are they usually being caused by injury or illness?
A lot of it can be both. It can be some people have traumatic injury who would knock out part of their teeth and have to have them removed. Some of them have over years have decay, have to have their teeth extracted, or periodontal disease, have to have their teeth extracted, and those teeth have to be restored with some kind of prosthesis.
Okay. All right, before we get too far afield here, I think we have another phone call. My phone is blinking. Okay, we're going to, we do have another phone call. Okay, let's take that call right now. Hello, welcome to Vicenza Live. Your question, please. All righty then. I guess we answered it already. I'm going to look on the bright side on that one, sir. Let's get back into this DCRI. You said that basically what it's going to do is allow people to have a set practitioner for routine visits, and they do have some choice in the matter, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Everybody's going to be assigned to a practitioner. Every general dentist will have a panel of patients who he's responsible for. He will examine them. He'll coordinate their care. If they need specialty care, he's the source for referring them to a specialist. But they also have a choice. We assigned everybody, and that came out in the flyer that we sent out. If they would prefer somebody other than the person we assigned them, then all they have to do is call the dental clinic, or they could have annotated it on that survey. One of the problems on the survey was that some of the people didn't tell us who they were. So if those people who did not tell us who they were would call the dental clinic and tell us what provider they would like to have, then that will help us a lot.
Okay, so that's what you meant by more of a civilian type system, in that they have one person for consistency's sake that they can develop a relationship with over time, but they also have some choice. If they have a specific person that they've been seeing that they want to see,
they have the choice to stay with that provider.
Okay, we have another phone call. Hello, welcome to Vicenza Live. Your question, please.
Yeah, I'm a civilian, and I would like to know if they are appointing civilians for dental care.
Okay.
I have a second part of my question after that one's answered.
Second part. Okay. First part,
okay.
Civilians?
Retirees and Department of the Army civilians will still be on a standby and emergency basis only. And it's strictly on a congressional Department of Defense policy that we've established that policy. We have more than enough active duty and family members to completely fill up our books, and we stay booked out more than 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So as long as our books stay booked out that far, then we'll have to stay with the standby and emergency basis for Department of the Army civilians and retirees.
So this is something you personally really don't have any control over?
I really don't have any control over it. It's directed by Congress, and it's Department of Defense that tells us what the category of patients are that we can treat.
Okay. And the next part of your question?
Well, I'm told that I have to be within 5 minutes or 15 minutes of the dental clinic if I'm called in to replace someone who is canceled. I have a particular situation, though. I have an artificial heart valve, so I have to be medicated in advance, and that's absolutely impossible for me to be medicated an hour in advance and be within 15 minutes of the dental clinic. Is there any special consideration that I could get?
Okay. Thank you for your call.
The option you have is on a standby basis is not just our call-in standby basis appointments. What you can do if you want to is come into our dental clinic and wait for an available appointment. If you're there and an appointment opens up, and this applies to retirees too, then we will work you in if you're already in the clinic. So if you know a day that you don't have anything coming up and you are willing to sit in the dental clinic and wait till something, either a failure or a last-minute cancellation occurs, then that's an avenue for you to pursue.
Okay, so beyond sitting in the dental clinic, is there anything else that individual could do to have something planned in advance so he can take his medication and be ready?
We have a list of providers, if he's willing to come by and see the providers that are out on the civilian economy, that he could come by and write down a name of a provider who will take care of him on the civilian side.
Okay, possibility there too.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because at this point we were talking about the DCRI and how people are going to be more or less with one practitioner from here on in. What about those that want to utilize a dentist in the community?
Well, that's going to be, it's unusual that you brought that up, because that's a proposal before the Department of Defense. As most of our active duty family members know, that they utilized the family member dental program when they were back in the States. They are going to export that family member dental program within the next year to overseas locations. Department of Defense realized, the Health Affairs section of the Department of Defense realized that there are a lot of soldiers and their family members stuck in remote locations that have no access to dental care. So one of the things they wanted to do is provide some dental care for those beneficiaries. Likewise, they realized that they can't station enough of us overseas to take care of the 100% of the need. So by exporting the family member dental program overseas, what that will allow family members to do, if there's some kind of procedure that I can't provide for you in our facility, then you can get essentially a statement of non-availability from our practitioner, go downtown and have that done throughout the civilian economy. But what's important to know is that when you do that, you'll have to re-enroll in the family member dental program. You will be in the program for at least 24 months. You cannot disenroll.
This is
And
the same program they have in the States.
that's, with the exception is that there's no copay. Overseas, there's no copay, and it still has the $1,000 per year cap.
Okay, we're going to talk some more about DCRI in the second half of the program. Right now we're going to go to a break. We've been talking with Colonel Dennis Jennings, the dental clinic commander. This is Vicenza Live, AFN Vicenza's live call-in program. We'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes, taking more of your calls and talking more with Colonel Jennings.
Please don't drink and drive. Pretty please. Please, sugar top.
As always, I am proud to be called your commander.
Catch the spirit. Whether you like to work with children or maybe you'd like to be on stage. If directing is your cup of tea, or tossing the ball around, then volunteer today. Call ACS at 634-7500.
What comes to mind when you think of Italy? Perhaps drinking cappuccino in a corner bar. Or strolling through a tucked-away street market. See the sights with a friend and enjoy the local delicacies. Don't let another weekend pass you by. Discover Italy.
Hello and welcome back to Vicenza Live, AFN Vicenza's live call-in program. I'm Specialist Dave McLean and my guest is Colonel Dennis Jennings, who is the dental clinic commander. Welcome back, Colonel Jennings. I'm glad you could join us today.
Okay.
We've been talking about the new dental care initiative and we're going to get back to that in just a minute, but first off we have a phone call. I was told we have a phone call. There's nothing blinking. So if somebody could check on that, we'll continue talking for a moment here. The Dental Care Reengineering Initiative, and I apologize, I got to glance on every time I do that because I don't want to mess that up. That's kind of a mouthful there.
DCRI is a lot easier.
DCRI, we'll just stick with that. We were talking about, okay, we do that call now, so let's hold on and give this a shot here. Hello, you're on Vicenza Live. Your question, please.
Yes, a big part of the retired community, I've got one that I really have to ask you after listening to the last few minutes. Last time I was in the clinic in October, I'd gone in with some tooth pain, and the dentist saw me, said, well, we need some work, but we don't do retired people here. And yet I just heard the colonel say retired on a standby basis. What is available to the retired community?
Okay, good question. Thank you for calling. Sir, let's finish that up so that's real clear. What can retired folks expect to be able to get in the way of services from the dental clinic?
Emergency care, and I need to define emergency care. Emergency care is pain, bleeding, swelling, or infection. If it meets those criteria, we do that for retirees on a walk-in basis. The other part of the care that we provide for retirees is on a standby basis. That's either by our short call list or if they're willing to sit in our dental clinic until an appointment comes available, either by a failure or a cancellation, then we will work a retiree in for that.
Similar to the situation you were talking about with the civilian that called in earlier.
That's correct.
Okay. DCRI allows people to develop a relationship over a period of time with one practitioner, and they have a choice. Generally, it's based on their Social Security number. Am I correct? Who
That's
they were
correct.
assigned to initially?
That's right.
Okay, and then they can make a change if they request it. The changes there are fairly obvious and for good reason, but let me ask you now, are there any changes in the way people access the system under DCRI?
We've tried to make it more user-friendly. By saying more user-friendly, they can now call in if they have an emergent situation. I've already defined what an emergent situation was.
Mm-hmm.
If they have that, then they can call in, get a same-day appointment to see their primary care manager, their private dentist. That's still one way for them. That's a new way for them of accessing our system. The other way to access our system is the way they've been doing it in the past, and that's in a walk-in during sick call hours. Mm-hmm. But it's more convenient, and it'd be more convenient for our customers if they call and get a defined appointment rather than walking in and potentially having to wait. So it's better to use the phone if they can.
And I understand you have additional staff as a result of this new program too.
One of the things about DCRI is to make our operation more efficient. By doing that, we needed more auxiliaries to make our operation more efficient. So we hired an additional front desk person so that we can eventually automate our appointment system.
Now, when we talk about automating, is it the kind of thing where I call the dental clinic and they say, if this is a routine appointment, press 1. If your teeth have fallen out, press 2. Or is that what we're talking about here?
No, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is utilizing the computer to schedule appointments. That computer will also have a recall system to it, so that if you're a periodontal patient and need a frequent cleaning, say every 3 to 4 months or 3 to 6 months, mm-hmm. then you'll get a friendly reminder mm-hmm. in the mail, just like you would in a civilian practice.
It's definitely a friendly reminder, though.
Yeah, friendly reminder, yes,
okay.
Right.
Okay, good. Again, more like the civilian system.
Right.
Okay, now let's talk about Army issues here. How is this new system affecting readiness?
We're also going to automate our dental readiness program. With that, we'll have input into SIDPERS, which should make our reporting system more accurate on dental readiness. The other advantage to DCRI, with the panel of patients, that private practitioner will be responsible for the Class 3 and Class 4 patients within his panel. So he can take responsibility for trying to move people from a potential emergency situation to a dental deployable soldier.
Okay. I want to pursue that again in a minute, but it's occurred to me I haven't brought up the phone numbers in the last couple of minutes, and I want to do that if folks want to call in and have any more questions for you. From off-post, you can reach us at 51-8227, and from on-post, 634-8227 gets you here, and we'd be glad to take your questions up till the 6 o'clock hour with Colonel Dennis Jennings here. What is the condition of dental readiness on the post right now?
I think we're probably one of the highest in Europe. We have an outstanding dental readiness NCO, Staff Sergeant Chappell, who came in back in August and took over our program. And since he came in, we've moved up about 10 percentage points in dental readiness. As of today, we're at 98% dental readiness posture for all of CTAF units, which is outstanding. I don't think any other organization or community and anywhere in Europe has 98% dental readiness. So it's an outstanding job that not only is our dental readiness NCO done, but our commanders supporting the program, the first sergeants and the sergeant majors have all supported the program and done an outstanding job, and I'd personally like to thank them for that.
Okay, excellent. 98%. You can't get too much better than that.
That's outstanding.
Well, we're talking about readiness, something that maybe you could clear up that some of us lower enlisted often get confused about the categories, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4. How does that work, and how does that play into the readiness issue?
Okay, dental category number 1 is somebody who has all their dental needs taken care of and not expected to be an emergency at all. A dental category 2 is somebody who still has some kind of work that needs to be done, but is not expected to be a dental emergency within the next 12 months. And that 12 months is the time period that we try to examine everybody to make sure that if they have a condition that hasn't been taken care of, we see them again within 12 months to recategorize them, make sure they haven't slipped into a category 3. A category 3 dental patient is somebody who is who we feel like will be a potential dental emergency, somebody who could be a dental liability on the battlefield, and we need to get them taken care of. A dental category 4 patient is somebody who has not been seen in the dental facility within the last 12 months.
So when we talk about deployability and readiness issues, we're saying that we've had a marked reduction in the categories 3 and 4 patients.
A dramatic reduction.
That are here in the community.
Threes and 4s are the ones that are considered non-deployables. And we've seen an outstanding improvement in those two areas. And our class 1s. That's one thing that DCRI is also going to approach is oral wellness. We want to move people just beyond the class 2. We want to move them to class 1. We want to make our community orally healthy. And with DCRI, our efficiency should go up, and dental readiness and oral wellness should go up.
Okay, then let me ask from this particular vantage point where you're sitting, what do you see as the most common problems and the solutions you would recommend for folks to just take better care of themselves, more preventive maintenance, so to speak?
Routine dental checkups is a primary thing. And that's one reason we have the system set up that we do, so that soldiers have to come in on a yearly basis to be examined. We can head off a lot of problems if we see soldiers on a yearly basis. And that's why we have the system we do. We're trying to get people in, take care of their situations before they transfer into a Category 3 kind of condition. So that's why we have our dental readiness program, and it's proven to be effective. If people are Category 1 and 2, their incidence of becoming a dental casualty on the battlefield is dramatically reduced over 3s and 4s.
Okay. Now, what are the most common problems you see that make a person non-deployable, other than not having been to the dentist in the last year?
The most common problems that make a patient non-deployable or a soldier non-deployable is normally a tooth that has had endodontic treatment or partial endodontic treatment, not completed endodontic treatment, and also people who have third molars which are partially erupted. Those kind of conditions normally are the ones that flare up most routinely, or deep cavities. If somebody has an extensive amount of cavities, or periodontal disease, gum and bone disease, those are the kind of conditions that categorize people as class 3 dental conditions.
Okay. Now, how many people come to you with those problems, and how many of them, versus how many of them do you discover when you are doing a routine exam?
That's the purpose of our dental examination, is to find those conditions and treat them. So that most of the people who don't come to us on a routine basis, those are the ones that we're concerned about, and that's why we want to see those kind of patients.
Okay, we're running out of time. I'd like to give you a quick moment for a final word. Colonel Jennings?
I'm extremely proud of our staff at the Vicenza Dental Clinic. They are dedicated to providing the best quality service we can for our community, and it's our goal to do that. We want to be the best dental facility and the facility of choice for our customers here in Vicenza, and that's the reason we've implemented the DCRI program. We want to meet your needs, and I welcome your concerns, your comments. Let us know how we can meet your needs better.
Okay, very good. My guest has been Colonel Dennis Jennings, the Dental Clinic Commander. Colonel, thank you for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
It's been a pleasure. And next week, we will be having folks from Youth Services on Vicenza Live, so be sure to tune in next Wednesday and every Wednesday at 5:30. I'm Specialist Dave McLean. Thanks for being with us. From all of us here at AFN, have a good evening.
I mean, I know that they don't have one yet, but no, we don't get any mailings along those lines.
They would notify the legal office. There's a process where they notify in an official way?
I mean, it's a good question.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there really isn't a mechanism set up as such. The way that we could find out would be, one, we can make an inquiry on behalf of that individual. The second one would be there's a legal assistance office at headquarters DA, and they do monitoring of states' law all over the United States. So they would normally give us a heads up, either in message form or in a direct mailing, to tell us something like that. So we probably would not hear in Vicenza in our individual capacity, but the word would get to us, or we can inquire directly.
We'll try to get at least one more caller in here. You're on Vicenza Live. If I could get your location and your question, please.
Hi, this is Dave, and I'm calling from Santa Maria. My question's in regards to the general power of attorney. I go TDY quite a bit. My wife, I give her a general power of attorney. It's good for 1 year. However, when she goes into to the AFEs, like the PX, they don't accept the general power of attorney. I thought the general power of attorney was the most powerful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's a great question, and I wrote an article in the Outlook about that point about 2 weeks ago, or maybe it's been 2 issues ago now. But anyway, the point is that a general power of attorney or special power of attorney is never required to be accepted by the place you present it to. So I spoke to the people, though, in AFIS directly, and they assured me that powers of attorney are honored. I don't know why this is a recurring problem, because I spoke to people in the front office, and they said that they have no problems with them.
Perhaps it's a question I can bring up to Mr. Moore the next time we have him on Vicenza Live. Okay, I believe that's all the time we've got for this week. So I would like to thank Mr. Tony Tempesta, the Chief of Legal Assistance here at Vicenza, for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next week on our show, just to let our viewers and listeners know, we'll have the Vicenza High School principal, Dr. Peter Price. The week after that, we'll have the commissary officer, Ricardo Liefert, on the show. I'm Larry Kreider. Thanks for joining us on Vicenza Live. Good night. If I could get your location and your question.
All right, this is Dave from Camasano. I got a question for Dr. Price. Concerning retirees and their children, with the drawdown, is there going to be any space available? And another part to that is there going to be a break in the cost of the tuition?
Wow. First off, space available is not a problem. We have the space here at Vicenza High School. For those of you that don't know, the space available issue is, folks, that we have to provide programs for the assigned military dependents and civilian dependents, that sort of thing. Then beyond that, if there is space in the school, if I have seats, in other words, we can offer it to other folks. Space availability is not an issue at Vicenza High School. With regard to tuition costs, I'm not the one to answer that. Those costs are determined at our Washington office, Office of Dependents Education. Yes, I think they're pretty doggone high. And as far as I know, there's not a scholarship program for youngsters, and I wish I could be more positive and say, hey, we're going to slash it in half, but that's not in my realm.
We'll go back to our phone lines now. You're on Vicenza Live. Your location and your question, please.
Yeah, I'm at Vehicle Bobby, right outside Post. And I just want to know, Mr. Price, if you're planning on getting the boys' basketball team any new uniforms, because the ones this year are kind of pitiful.
The basketball uniforms this year, I think pitiful may be a kind word for them. That's been asked more than once by students, and all I can say is we're working on it. One of the things with our funding is we feel it's important to fund educational programs as far as equipment and supplies for teaching, something that affects the larger number of kids, more important than it is for those that affect smaller numbers. We've currently got a request into the Booster Club and other organizations to get some money. This year in our what we call our DGSC budget, or admin and instruction budget, there was not funds allocated for uniforms. And by George, they sure are getting expensive. I mean, it costs $60 to outfit a kid in basketball, and really well. But we're working on it.
Okay. I think at this time we'll go back to one of our, another video question that we got from our students earlier today, if we could.
I just want to know why 7th and 8th graders can't participate in high school sports, such as soccer and tennis, since we're in high school.
That's a question that's often asked, and basically under our regulations, a youngster can only compete in interscholastic competition 8 semesters of school. Plus they have to have a certain age minimum, or in other words, they have to be enrolled in 9th grade is what I need to say, and through 12th grade. You think, well, so what? What difference does that make? When and if you go back to the United States and you want to participate, many school systems, I mean the majority have that same sort of ruling. So if you've competed 2 semesters as an 8th grader, when you get your 9th grade, 10th, 11th grade, you've used up your 8 semesters total. You can't compete as a senior. That's part of it. Another aspect of it is we look at the physiological development of the youngster. That's a big growing time for middle school youngsters. That's when their muscles are toning, their joints are growing, and that sort of thing, and we don't want to put them in jeopardy physically.
Okay, let's go back to our phone lines again. You're on Vicenza Live. If I could get your location and your question.
Yes, I am on post, and I would like to know, you guys have been recently reconstructing or working on different parts of the school. Will you ever get to other places like the gym?
Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the high school gym.
Yeah.
Okay, currently what we've done is we've got a request for design money to have that gym renovated completely. Now, unfortunately, we're like all government agencies, we're in the money crunch. When and if that money becomes available, that's one of our, I would say I'm not mistaken, it was one of our top 5 priorities to have done. But that's certainly something we're considering, because that gym needs work.
You had some other construction projects going on this year as well. Could you kind of run down those?
Oh, sure. We're redoing some of our electrical things because of all the technology we're adding. We're finding that inadequate. We have 2 or 3 portable classrooms out back of the school, and what we want to do is put in for a construction project that will incorporate them, as well as give us an auditorium type thing. Because currently, other than gymnasium, we have no place that we can meet as a student body and function. So again, we're tied with the money thing. They're in our priority, but when and if that money comes available needs to be seen yet.
Okay, we're going to try to squeeze in one more caller here. You're on Vicenza Live. If I could get your location and your question.
I live in Bellagio.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know why can't we show effect in the hallways?
I'm sorry?
Why can't we show effect in the hallways?
I think the individual is saying, why can't we show affection in the hallways? Folks, there's a time and place to show affection, and our policy is basically nothing beyond hand-holding, and I think that's more than adequate.
Well, with that note, I believe we are out of time. So, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Price, for being on the show with us.
My pleasure. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought.
There you go. For those of you who might have tuned in late, we've been talking with the Vicenza High School principal, Dr. Pete Price, on this Vicenza Live. Join us again next week when our guest will be the commissary officer, Ricardo Liefert. Until then, I'm Larry Kreider. Good night.
Thanks.
That's all over and done with now. In your opinion, how did that go?
Yeah, it was a very successful fest. Lots of folks came out to visit it, a lot of good entertainment going on, lots of nice events. Lots of fun behind the grills and behind the booths, behind the scenes type things, and a very safe fest this year too.
Yeah, you mentioned the grills. For those that don't know, Sergeant Major Height was very active with the Sergeant Major's booth. What kind of food were you all making over there?
Oh, brats and sausage, and I hope I don't see another one for a good 6 months.
But you guys did some pretty good business. And,
oh yeah, we did.
It looked like you were having a good time out there.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I've enjoyed about all the fests I've been to here and participated in, is the camaraderie that goes on behind the scenes there. Yeah, we work hard, but we also have a good time too.
Now this poster is in Italian. This particular one was aimed at the host nation folks. And do you have a feel for how many Italians came to the festa this year?
No, not an overall figure. I do know that on the 4th of July, 27,000, a little over 27,000, passed through our metal detectors. And that doesn't include the number of people that were authorized access in their own right, such as you and I, the other military and civilian employees, to include our host nation employees here on post that came in through the main gate.
Right.
Yeah, so probably a little over 30,000 were on post that night.
I had been at the festa earlier in the day with my kids riding the rides, and then I came back later for the fireworks. And I know there was a long line of cars, and there were people parking everywhere they could park. And some, I don't even think went into the fest grounds. I think some just watched it from outside, from where they could get a seat, where they could get a spot.
Yes.
So it was
That's
pretty
true.
well attended.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Were there any problems?
Nothing major. A few minor little things with some of our folks here on post, but no major incidents at all. It was a very safe fest and very incident-free overall.
Okay,
the MPs, the courtesy patrols, the unit police did a great job with the planning of it. The DCA folks put a lot of work into preparing for it, and it went over very well.
Okay, speaking of those folks, I know you have several things to talk about that are going on post, but let's start with kind of an overall, the Community Expo coming up in September. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this is the second one we've done here, Specialist McLean. We did one in May of last year, and it's a 2-day event. This year it will be on the 16th and the 17th of September. We will do it in the fitness center here on Caserma Ederle. We've changed the timing of it this year, so after the big summer turnovers of personnel, we can provide information to the new arrivals. And it's basically a different form of the quarterly town hall meetings we have, just a little longer and a little more personal. All of our activities and directorates within the 22nd will be represented there with displays. In addition to that, AFAS, commissary, civilian personnel, the Army Career and Alumni office will be out. DODS will be participating in this, the Preventive Medicine Detachment, and huge displays by our MWR folks. And during those 2 days, it's going to be open from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock each day, and it's the opportunity for people to come up, gather information, ask questions, voice their concerns one-on-one with the subject matter experts from these different activities.
Now, where is this going to be held?
In the Post Fitness Center.
Okay.
And one of the other things that's going to be happening there is the families and our soldiers will have the opportunity to sign up for many of our fall and winter programs that will be coming up, particularly those that are offered by MWR.
Okay. Now, certainly the town hall meeting has its place, but how is this an advantage or just a different thing that might appeal to folks that don't go to the town hall meetings?
Well, so many times people think that town hall meetings are no more than a place just to raise concerns, but they're not. It's an information flow, and this allows us to increase that information flow on a one-on-one basis. An individual or a family may not go to a town hall meeting because they know they may only have a question in one area, but they know they're going to hear briefings from numerous areas. They may have to listen to many questions before their turn comes. They may get tired of just sitting there and not ask their question, and so therefore they don't get their answers or don't voice their concerns. Whereas with the Community Expo concept, they're able to talk right to the people, just go around and they can look at the displays, ask their questions, look at maps as an example of the renovation projects we have going on post. Touch some of the products that AFAS has, watch some of the videotapes they have, same thing with the commissary folks we have here. Find out what civilian personnel offers them, what the Army Career and Alumni program offers soldiers. It's more personal, and it's also a little bit more flexible on time. Possibly they can't come to a town hall meeting on a specific Thursday when we have it, but maybe they can get out there on their lunch hour to the expo and get in and get the information they want or ask their question.
So what we have here in a nutshell is an opportunity for people to come and kind of browse through the different activities on post, to ask the questions when they want to and get that personal interaction and the answers that they need.
Absolutely.
Okay. The Community Expo, once again, is September 16th and 17th at the Fitness Center.
Yes, it is.
Before we get into some of the other specific things that are happening on post, we want to give the phone numbers again. Remember, this is a live call-in program. If you would like to talk to Sergeant Major Height, you can reach us from off post at 518227 or from on post at 634-8227. Sergeant Major, in your job as 22nd ASG Command Sergeant Major, you're basically the equivalent of a garrison Command Sergeant Major as well.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, which is why these issues are all very important to you. Could you talk about some of the specific things, activities, and events that are going to be going on post in the near future?
Okay, well, one of the things we've got coming up is we've got some ACS sponsorship training that's offered the 15th of July in Davis Hall from 9 to 11. That is for individuals who have been appointed as sponsors or are interested in learning more about the sponsorship program. They can go into that, they can contact ACS, reserve them a spot, and go in there. In addition to that class, ACS is very flexible. One of the best ways to train sponsors is to have units have ACS come to them and train a large group of people. That way everybody receives the same training at the same time. They're able to ask questions that are particular to their unit, and all the unit members that participate in that training hear that answer. We've also got a boxing smoker coming up, round 2 it's called, in the Fitness Center, starting the 17th this Friday. The fights begin at 7 p.m. YS has got a Team Benvenuti on the 17th. They've got lots of programs. Things still available. Midnight basketball slots for teens are still available. I encourage families and teens to give YS a call to find out what is offered by them.
Okay. And once again, this is just a small sampling of some of the things that are coming up here on post. And if you have an area that you're interested in, like youth services, once again, the Community Expo would be a great opportunity.
Absolutely, yes.
To show up there and find out more in depth what you want to know about a specific program and project. Another area besides activities, MWR type things, that you would be concerned with as basically our Garrison Command Sergeant Major, of course, is the construction that's going on both on post and in Villaggio. First, on post, most of us driving around, including myself, it seems kind of random. There's digging here, there's construction there, and we really don't know what's going on. Maybe you could just kind of give us a laundry list of some things that are happening at the moment.
Well, it's hard to keep up with sometimes, and our folks in our Director of Public Works and our Corps of Engineers contractors we use and the Navy contractors we use here do a fabulous job on this. It may not seem like it sometimes, but there is an overall plan. One thing that impacts on that sometimes that people don't understand a lot, and it took me a while to get educated on this, is the different pots of money we use for that. Some of it is long-range planning. Many of the projects you see happening now were planned 5 to 8 years ago, and we're finally getting the money through and able to execute them. Others, we have a project that is designed, a pot of funds will become available from a different source, and we're able to execute that. So there is a plan to all of this. Right now, the water line project is progressing throughout the installation, more holes being dug up, but it's different holes in most instances. We're not digging up the same ones.
Okay, now once again, excuse me for interrupting you. Let's back up just a step, because I've been on this post just under 9 months, and so I'm not familiar with why these things were necessary, and probably a lot of other people are not.
Well,
like the water line project.
We've done a lot of renovations on post. We've built a brand new PX, open since I've been here, working on a commissary. We've renovated Davis Hall and numerous other buildings throughout the post. But one thing that has not been taken care of is the infrastructure of the post, the basic plumbing, the water lines, the heating pipes, the electrical systems we have. Some of these date back to the 1950s, and they're seriously degraded. And if we don't start working on that stuff, we'll never be able to provide all the services we need to the Caserma and the housing area.
Is that what's going on over by your headquarters?
Yes, it is.
22nd ASG headquarters, it's rough over there. Pretty soon you're going to have to be pole vaulting to get out of work.
Well, I think that's kind of a going away present that Elvis and DPW has given me. We got that beautifully landscaped headquarters there. Okay, Height's leaving. Let's dig it up before he goes.
Well, I think it's just the opposite. They don't want you to leave. They figure if they encircle you with a big enough ditch, you won't be able to get out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Well, the reason for the timing on that one is not so much those pipes need fixing, but it has to do with another project that is ongoing or getting ready to start, and that is putting in another parking lot between Building 109, which is the ASG headquarters, and the Battle Sim Center. That open area where we've got big old ugly pine tree that was hit by lightning years ago and is growing in different directions. That is going to become a parking lot here.
Oh, great.
So rather than put in the parking lot and then come back later and dig it up to do the heating line project, the DPW is doing that project first, and then they will do the installation of the parking lot.
And speaking of parking lot, there's going to be one going up next to Davis Hall, I understand as well.
Well, there's already one in what we would call temporary Davis Hall. That's Building 126. There were some buildings that were moved out of there to kind of expand the parking lot. And that's to help because Brigade Headquarters is going to be moving over onto Caserma eventually, and to also assist with the parking in the Davis Hall situation. Parking's been a problem for the 3 years I've been here. We thought the fix would be when we opened up the new AFS complex with that nice parking lot they've got over there. I think we cut the ribbon on May 26, 1995 at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 10:30 in the morning, every parking spot on post was full again.
Absolutely.
Still think we can put in 1,000 new parking spots around here, and 1,010 cars would show up wanting to get in them.
Once again, before we move on to talk about Villaggio, I want to give the phone numbers for those who would like to call in a question to Sergeant Major Height. You can reach us from off post at 518227 or from on post at 634-8227. One last question about the construction going on post. Is there an end in sight?
Well, it may sound funny, but we hope not.
Okay.
Because as long as we're doing construction, we're making progress within this community. And as long as we're making progress, then we're improving the well-being of our soldiers and our families here.
Great. Okay, we just have a little bit of time before the break, so let's talk real briefly about Villaggio, the construction going on there. What can you tell us? What's new over there?
Well, as you know, they are renovating quite a few quarters in there. The prototypes are done on the different models. It took a while on those, but that's kind of typical when you're talking a prototype. That's because we go on with the specification. The contractors are doing their best to meet the U.S. requirements that we have on there. Sometimes we don't necessarily state what we really mean to state when we do specifications. And then sometimes the contractor come back and says, well, we understand what you're saying, but this would work a little bit better. Or we say, we know what we said, but this might work a little bit better. And then we negotiate back and forth till we come up with something that's workable, and then we're able to move on to the prototypes onto other units.
I have to halt you there for right now. I know there's more to talk about this. We'll come back to it. Right now we have to go to a break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We've been talking with 22nd SG Command Sergeant Major Stephen Height, and we will be back. We'll talk a little bit more about Villaggio and about the fact that you're leaving and give you a chance to reflect upon your time here. You're watching Vicenza Live.
The accidental poisoning of your child can happen at what seems to be the out-of-reach bathroom medicine cabinet, or the colorful collection of bottles within easy reach under your kitchen sink. Or your child could accidentally poison your pet. If you have young children, be aware of the risks associated with poison stored in the home. Take the time to poison-proof each room, because children act fast, so do poisons. A message from the U.S. Army Health Clinic, Vicenza.
Got a drawer full of Article 15s? Running low on time to be promoted? Overweight? Watch out or you just might be singing the QMP blues.
Picture yourself walking or biking down the main highway from Caserma Ederle to Villaggio.
Auto traffic is dangerous. The bike path gives you a safe route from Bellagio to the post. If you keep it clean, don't bother the landowner's livestock, and keep the noise down when you use the bike path, you won't have to face this. For now, the bike path is a privilege for you and your family. Don't abuse it. It's the safe walk from Caserma Ederle to Bellagio.
Education is the key to success. Whether you strive for an associate's, bachelor's, or a master's degree, Vicenza's Education Center can help. Just call 634-7698 and start your path to a great future.
Let me talk to you about something we all have, but sometimes don't do anything about. I'm talking about ideas. You've probably had ideas that you knew could improve something, but you figured, what the heck, nobody's going to listen to me anyway. Am I right? Well, here's a way to get your ideas heard by somebody who listens. Send those ideas to your suggestion program representative. It's so simple. And if your suggestion is accepted, it could change the way things are done. And you could get a cash award. And wouldn't that make you feel good? For example, perhaps the furnace on the Wattses could be made of a different material to be more efficient. Just write your suggestion on one of these forms you can get from your suggestion program representative. Describe your ideas. Remember, you can change the way things are done, and you don't have to be a genius to do it. Contact your suggestion program representative today.
Hello and welcome back to Vicenza Live, Vicenza's live call-in program. I'm Specialist Dave McLean. We're talking today with 22nd ASG Command Sergeant Major Stephen Height. Sergeant Major Height, thanks again for joining us today. Sergeant Major Height is doing his last Vicenza Live. He is heading out of here next week. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. But first we want to get back, well, let me first off mention the phone numbers, because this is a live call-in program. If you have questions for Sergeant Major Height, please give us a call from off-post. The number would be 518227, and from off-post, 634-8227. Now, Sergeant Major, if you would for a minute, back to what we were talking about before the break. We kind of got cut off by that. Construction in Bellagio, we've got several units completed now. We're nearing completion as far as the major renovation, and you say that's moving along smoothly. We're kind of feeling our way, but as we go and learn more, it's doing better.
Yes, the prototypes are completed, as I said earlier. We've pretty much got it down to a standard now. The contractors are rolling right along. I was out there looking at a building a couple weeks ago that they were, it appeared to be halfway through with. Drove past it over the weekend, and there's families living in it. That's how quick things are progressing. Housing is working now with the families. They've got the plans going on who's going to move where and how that goes. They've started a new thing to get information out to the residents in Bellagio. Every Thursday in the Bellagio Youth Center, Ms. Miller, our housing manager, has a meeting out there. It's open to all residents who want to come, not just those that are immediately affected by the moves. It's from 15 to 1600 in the Bellagio YS building. She brings representatives in from the Corps of Engineers, the ROIC, which is the Navy Contracting Office, if you will. The contractor is there, and they're able to answer questions on the spot there. It's a little more personal than the little flyer into your door there, and it tells you what's going on.
Right, it gives you a chance for that interaction.
Yes, we do.
Ask the questions, and I imagine they would cover a variety of topics then if they're bringing in all those different
stuff. And it's not only about the housing renovations also. They can talk about the other things that are going on in Bellagio.
Okay, good. So if you have questions about any construction in Bellagio, that would be, could you give us the dates and times again real quick?
It's every Thursday from 15 to 1600 hours in Bellagio Youth Center.
Okay. And before we get off the infrastructure topic, we had a question from within the studio here during the break. Someone wants to know why there are not more gates open in the mornings.
Well, right now, gate numbers have always been a sore subject with me. I've been looking for gate 1 since I got here. I found out it is not the main gate. That's gate 2. Gate 1's out there somewhere. But gate 2 is open in the mornings for exiting. The issue is that we don't open Gate 5, I believe the number is the clinic gate in the mornings for traffic to exit post. And that basically boils down to a military police and carbonary manpower issue. With all the commitments we have for them, the patrols we have out, the shifts we have to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, convoy escorts we have people doing, the reports they have to do. Our MPs and our carbonary are very busy individuals, and we just don't have the manpower to staff that gate.
So the MPs, they've got their mission essential tasks, and then those, of course, can't be dispensed with. And then if we take more people out to the gate, we're taking away from some other type of mission, the patrols or such.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
It's one of those tough things. We got to work smarter and do our best with what we've got in the Army. Absolutely. Okay, Sergeant Major, now I'd like to shift the focus to you, if you don't mind, because this is your last Vicenza Live. You are leaving post. You came here originally when?
I got here in July of '95.
Okay. What comes to your mind when you reflect back on those past 3 years? Highlights, things you're proud of, things you were happy you were here for. What are you going to remember from this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was driving into post and thinking about all the changes, remembering back to the first day I drove in, came onto Caserma Ederle. Arrived here on 21 July '95. I was picked up at the airport, and before I even checked into a hotel or went to my headquarters to meet my boss or anything, I was given a quick windshield tour of the installation. Everything was pointed out to me. And then just driving in here yesterday, I'm thinking about all the changes that are happening on this post just within a short time of 3 years. All the renovations we've done, the new AFS mall complex, the Ederle Inn expansion that's getting ready to open, Davis Hall, that used to be a dungeon. It's the most highly used building we have on post, and it was the most worn out. That was just in pitiful shape. And it wasn't because people weren't taking care of it. It was just old. And so just to see the changes that have happened on this installation within the 3 years that I've been here is just fantastic. And in addition to that, the quality of the people that I've been able to work with. Been in the Army quite a few years. I'm not going to go into that. One of my first sergeants said that, I was the first sergeant for Moses, but I've not been around that long. But been around a long time, and this is some of the highest quality folks, military, civilian employees, to include our host nation employees that I've been around, our family members that volunteer and donate thousands and thousands of hours a year to supporting us and each other. It's just fantastic to be around a group of people like that. As far as a regret, I guess one big regret I have is that we have not been able to complete our entire barracks renovation program since I've been here. We've tried our best. DPW, Mr. Thomas has just been all over USERA trying to come up with the money to accelerate our program. We're still on track for when we were originally funded to be. We're going to continue to renovate buildings, but we've attempted to accelerate that program to get it all done sooner. That is the biggest issue that we have for our single soldier well-being. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that. One of the reasons is because although we've still got 3.5 buildings to go to get our lousy barracks renovation program done, it may not look like it sometimes, but we are way ahead of many of the communities up in the Central Region when it comes to taking care of the barracks renovations.
Now, you mentioned how much you admire and how much the host nation employees, along with our other civilians on post, have helped you out. How have you felt about living in Italy in general?
Oh, who would not want to re-enlist? I'm somebody. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. It makes you. If they had the old pay lines, I'd want to low crawl up on it. Somebody's paying us to be over here in this beautiful country to do this Army stuff, which is fun to begin with, and then they put us in this beautiful location. Couldn't think of a better place to be. You've got all kinds of stuff around you, short trips. My wife and I, we try to get out quite a bit. Because of the jobs, I haven't been able to get any extended vacations, but we take a lot of day trips, weekend trips and things like that. We've seen a lot of this country. I encourage everybody that's here to get out and do things. We went Monday, although I was just flat wore out from the carnival. She drugged me to the Republic of San Marino. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And on a weekday, it was only 3 hours away. Beautiful place to go, and that's the way it is. People should get out of the barracks, get out of their housing areas, and go do things.
Yeah, that's something that I never did understand. I've only been here 9 months, but I've already seen a good amount, considering most of that was over the winter. And people that complete a tour here and haven't really gotten out and explored and experienced all that this country has to offer, it's beyond me.
They're doing themselves a disservice.
Absolutely.
Many of our civilian counterparts will work all their lives to their retirement age, and then if they're lucky, they're able to go on a 2 or 3 week whirlwind vacation of Europe. They can see Europe, but they can't really enjoy Europe. We've got the luxury here to do it on a daily basis, even in the evenings. Something as simple as getting on the bus and going to downtown Vicenza on a Saturday or Sunday evening, having dinner in a nice restaurant, and just wandering around the square.
Speaking of traveling, where are you going next?
I'll be going to Fort Hood.
And what are you going to be doing there?
Right now I'm slated to be the 1st Cav Division Discom Sergeant Major. I'm going back into a troop unit. I've thoroughly enjoyed this base op stuff, but it's time to do a troop unit again. But you can bet I'll be beating up on the Garrison Sergeant Major there if he has steps.
Sure. Absolutely. Show him the ropes. Huh?
No, you bet.
Keep him straight.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got just a minute or so left in the show, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to say your farewell to the Vicenza community. So why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we'll close out the show, and that'll be it for today.
Well, I guess I would just like to extend my appreciation and my thanks to all of the soldiers and civilians and families here in our command. And not just here in Vicenza, this also applies to those in Verona and to those at Camp Darby. It's been a great tour. I've thoroughly enjoyed serving you, and keep up the great work and keep working on the one team, one fight concept, and we'll always be successful here.
Okay, great. My guest today has been 22nd ASG Command Sergeant Major Stephen Height. This is Vicenza Live. I thank you all for tuning in, and I thank you, Sergeant Major, for being with us. Let me, on behalf of the community, wish you all the best. And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday at 5:30 for Vicenza Live. I'm Specialist Dave McLean. Have a good evening.